It's Thursday, December 30th, and this is now on HNN.
We absolutely can influence this by our behavior.
The state sees a sharp rise in COVID-19 cases, with nearly 3,500 new infections added.
I think with some limitations, I think it should go on.
Now, despite concerns over gatherings, the New Year's Eve fireworks show in Waikiki is a go.
They may take it back, they may not.
These stories plus, do you got gifts to return?
I got my money and a product.
Some retailers may offer refunds and let you keep the item to cut costs. We'll explain coming up on This Is Now.
Aloha and thank you for watching This Is Now. Hawaii's daily COVID case count soars to a record high. The health department is reporting 3,484 infections today. Here's the breakdown by island. There are 2,680 cases on Oahu, 334 on Maui. The Big Island is adding 242 new infections, while Kauai has 147. Molokai is reporting 21, and there is one case on Lanai. The statewide positivity rate is at 14.1%. Oahu's positivity rate is at 16.3%. Now for more on the pandemic, let's send it over to Jonathan.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, this wave of new cases is setting records across the country. I want to take you live now to New York City's Times Square. You can see preparations underway for the big party there. But things are going to be different there, and some New Year's Eve celebrations are totally in jeopardy. Let's toss it over now to Michael George, who has the very latest from across the nation.
2021 is going out with a bang as the U.S. averages more than 277,000 new COVID cases a day and counting. Federal health officials are urging nursing home employees to get booster shots amid a spike in cases among staffers. And the CDC is advising against cruise travel, regardless of vaccination status. And as we approach New Year's Eve,
large gatherings where you're not certain of the vaccination status of people should be avoided.
Health officials say you should get tested before a gathering and a few days afterward to make sure you weren't exposed.
Our focus is vaccine and testing. Vaccine and testing.
Incoming New York City Mayor Eric Adams unveiled a 6-point battle plan to deal with COVID this winter.
I'm rolling out my administration plan to keep New Yorkers safe from the virus and keep our city open.
Preparations are underway here in Times Square for a scaled-down New Year's Eve celebration, limited to a vaccinated, masked crowd of 15,000 revelers.
3, 2, 1, Happy New Year!
Crews gave the nearly 12,000-pound ball a test run Thursday.
Everything's ready to go for December 31st.
Atlanta's 32-year tradition, the Peach Drop, has been canceled again, and San Francisco scrapped plans for its fireworks show. But things may be looking up.
This thrust with Omicron over the next 6 to 8 weeks is so significant. Please, just let's get us through this one. And then I think we're going to see a light at the end of the tunnel through the rest of the year.
Something everyone could look forward to in 2022. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Well, Mayor Rick Blangiardi says there will be no new restrictions for Oahu, at least for now.
We're not going to impose any further restrictions. We don't want to close down businesses right now. We've been pretty much on life support on so many ways here, because I would tell you, we don't have monies available.
Blangiardi points out that some businesses are already taking voluntary steps to prevent any outbreak, which he describes as a soft lockdown. But he's also asking bars and nightclubs to take stronger measures, such as keeping people from dancing. Despite his plan to keep businesses open, Blangiardi warned that he is also prepared to take severe action if things get out of hand.
Make no mistake about it, we have the hammer in this deal, and we will drop the hammer if we have to. What we're asking now is for compliance.
The state is easing its quarantine policy for those who have tested positive for COVID following CDC recommendations that have drawn concerns from many experts. Under the new guidelines, which take effect on Monday, those who test positive for COVID should isolate for 5 days and until symptoms are gone. and also continue to wear a mask for 5 days after isolation. The policy applies to everyone regardless of vaccination status. Meanwhile, those who are boosted and have been vaccinated within the past 6 months and have been exposed to COVID no longer need to quarantine. However, they should wear a mask for 10 days and get tested on day 5. Those who aren't vaccinated should quarantine for 5 days and get tested on day 5.
The big New Year's Eve fireworks show is back on this year in Waikiki after the pandemic forced organizers to cancel in 2020. Casey Lund is at Magic Island with more.
A good afternoon from Magic Island here at Ala Moana Beach Park, where so many families come to gather just to see that fireworks show. This will be the first show in 2 years since 2019. You'll remember in 2020 the show was canceled because of the pandemic, and many are arguing that the show should be canceled again this year. Here's what Dr. Elizabeth Char from the State Department of Health had to say heading into this busy holiday weekend.
We're very concerned about New Year's, and we hope that, people will behave accordingly to minimize the risk. And I think it's kind of fatalistic to just say, well, it's here and we're just going to, it's just going to go crazy and there's nothing we can do about it. We absolutely can influence this by our behaviors. Personally, I think it would have been a good thing to limit the high-risk activities, to put some limits on those things. We are in the middle of a pandemic and certain activities are just not compatible with a respiratory pathogen.
Well, despite those concerns, the show is going on. And as we've been reporting, Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi is not changing any restrictions, planning to tighten any gathering restrictions on businesses or individuals. Here's what he had to say at his press conference yesterday.
All of us as individuals can help deal with this situation. It's not a government edict. I find it fascinating. I really find it fascinating that people would rather be told, some people, what not to do versus what we are telling them to do. And what we're telling people to do is get a booster. Get a booster.
We talked to everyday people here at Magic Island as well to get their take on whether or not this big show that does attract so many crowds should in fact still go on.
I think with some limitations, because other states are doing limitations on their shows, but I think with some limitations, I think it should go on. There should be some social distancing.
We also want to talk a little bit about consumer fireworks or illegal fireworks, those aerial mortar rounds that have been banned since 2011. We also have some figures from HFD on firecracker permits sold by year. This year, there were a total of 20,286 applications, a big jump from just last year when 14,000 were sold. In 2019, there were around 17,000 permits sold. HFD Fireworks Inspector Ted Muraoka says that stores are having a firecracker shortage. Again, to those illegal fireworks, HPD does have a fireworks task force, though they've told us time and time again that cracking down on those effectively is difficult simply because they don't have the manpower or the technology to effectively pursue and cite everyone that's using those illegal fireworks. They rely heavily on neighbors reporting illegal firework activity. I'm Casey Lund from Magic Island. We'll send things now back to you.
Japan confirmed a total of 501 new COVID infections yesterday, the nation's highest count in over 2 months. It's sparking concern as members of the public prepare to travel across the country to celebrate the new year. Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida promised to reinforce measures to prevent the community spread of Omicron infections by preparing for worst-case scenarios in his year-end video message on Twitter.
Well, that big lockdown that's happening in China right now is now impacting the world's largest chip makers. Stephen Jiang reports.
Authorities in Xi'an are warning the worst is not over just yet for their metropolis of 13 million residents, with the city now recording well over 1,000 new locally transmitted cases in the past 3 weeks. Officials are now also warning about the risk of hidden transmissions and breakthrough infections, justifying the need for harsh lockdown measures as well as repeated citywide testing. But these sweeping containment measures are now starting to hamper the operations of two of the world's biggest chip makers, potentially worsening an ongoing crisis of a global chip shortage. Both Samsung of South Korea and Micron of the U.S. have now acknowledged they had to adjust their operations in Xi'an, a major industrial hub where both companies have invested heavily in manufacturing facilities. Now, both companies have said they would leverage their global manufacturing networks to minimize disruptions. And meanwhile, in southern China, disturbing videos have emerged from a border town where 4 people in full hazmat suits with placards showing their photos hanging around their necks being paraded through the streets for allegedly helping others illegally crossing the borders into China from neighboring Vietnam. That's considered a heinous offense, apparently, by local police because of China's continued border closure and increasingly tightened COVID rules. There have been some recent local outbreaks linked to illegal immigrants, and officials there have defended their public shaming tactics, saying it's needed to act as a deterrent. But critics say this has once again exposed the dark and repressive side of China's zero COVID policy, with many local officials having little regard for human rights or dignity in the name of COVID prevention. Stephen Jiang, CNN, Beijing.
The Navy is renewing its fight against the state's order to drain the Red Hill fuel tanks. In a 43-page list of objections, the Navy disputed the facility poses any imminent peril to the water supply. The Navy's lawyer says recent spills and the water contamination were mostly human error and not due to poor design or the aging tanks. A state official will review the objections before making another ruling. But after that, the Navy can still appeal to the courts.
Several notable names in Hawaii's sports, broadcasting, and cultural communities were lost in 2021, sending waves of heartbreak throughout the islands. Here's a look back at those we lost.
And that's, what we as players right now are trying to do is not only leave a mark right now, but leave a mark for years to come so that, kids down the road can benefit from our success we've had.
We are not American. We will die as Hawaiians. We will never be Americans.
Henry Ford once said, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. In other words, local style, no such thing, no can, okay? Always can. Any obstacle, hurdle, or barrier is just meant to go over, around, or through.
And the thing about him was he was just so unique. He was so original.
Good evening, I'm Bob Jones.
So he was a newsman through and through, always.
Because I like the old-fashioned thing of I'm putting out the paper or I'm putting out the newscast, and I'll put on it what I think you ought to know.
Good night, goodbye. Mahalo for choosing KGMB 9 News.
I could be Hawaiian, I could feel Hawaiian without having to be questioned about my Hawaiianness.
I wanted to
to empower them. I wanted them to be more in touch with their ethnic and cultural heritage and to understand the sacrifices that were made for them so that we'd have a better life.
Dylan and Cheta from Hawaii News Now's digital team putting together that touching tribute for us. If you want to find it, you can find it on any of your H&N digital platforms. Also on your H&N digital platforms, we have a list of the news that made the top headlines over the past year as well. That story was just published overnight. Want to switch gears here now and take you live outside, and things are looking pretty damp out there right now. And it's looking like a lot of the holiday weekend's going to be a little wet as well. Want to turn it over now to our guy Hoggy with an update on those holiday conditions.
Aloha, we're looking at cloudy weather today. In fact, this disturbance is expected to bring even more rain than the windward and Mauka showers we're seeing this morning. Generous amounts, I might add. And when that disturbance comes over us later tonight through tomorrow, we could see some heavy spots of rain. And the winds will be shifting as well. For today, we got breezy trade winds on tap. So it's going to be blustery, it's going to be cool, it's going to be cloudy with scattered showers increasing as we go into tomorrow. So New Year's Eve, not looking that great weather-wise. Now, as far as the surf, not looking all that good either. Smaller up in the country, but another pulse is due in tonight and another one due in on Saturday. That could be fun. The biggest wave is rolling into the east side, but it's choppy out there. So we've got this disturbance coming in tonight through tomorrow. And then it's going to be lingering for the first day, for New Year's Day, and then slowly easing up as we head into the first week of 2022. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
New today, Tesla has recalled 475,000 vehicles due to camera and front trunk issues. The automaker says the technical defects may increase the risk of accidents. 2 separate recalls are in place. One impacts Model 3 cars between 2017 and 2020. The company says over time, a cable may separate, blocking a rear view camera feed. The other affects more than 119,000 Model S cars that have a faulty trunk latch. The issue could result in the hood opening unexpectedly.
Here's an unexpected sight. Tanioka's is closed for the new year. This is normally one of the busiest times of the year for the popular Waipahu store, but Tanioka's says it will be closed until January 19th for the safety of staff and customers amid the COVID surge. The store did not say if any of its staff have tested positive, but businesses across the islands are covering for sick employees. All right, let's see what the internet is talking about. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has confirmed to CNN that he will not return to the Fast and Furious franchise. Questions about his return resurfaced recently when co-star Vin Diesel publicly posted he wanted Johnson to return. But according to Johnson, he told Diesel privately in the past he would not star in another film, and he's sticking to that. The wrestler turned actor and producer also said he has no plans to run for president, even though a poll showed nearly half of America would like to see him in the White House. Instead, Johnson is focused on the upcoming film Black Adam, the second season of his hit sitcom Young Rock, and his Terramana tequila brand. Yeah, The Rock has a lot going on. What did you find, Jonathan?
Yeah, I can't wait for the Young Rock to return to KHNO. More celebrity news we're talking about. A breakup, and it's been one that's been going on for a while. A decade after breaking up, a matter of fact, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Maria Shriver are now officially divorced. The former couple settled their divorce in Los Angeles this week. Shriver first filed back in 2011 after Schwarzenegger admitted in public that he fathered a son from the family's longtime housekeeper. The former California governor and Shriver were married 25 years before calling it quits. They have 4 kids together. All right, now let's turn to some good news, and we have some tips for people doing holiday returns. Here's Joe Fryer with something you may not have ever known about.
As the season of giving winds down, the season of returning is just getting started.
I'm returning a lot.
But for many retailers, processing those unwanted items can cost 2/3 of their original price when factoring in labor, transportation, and the warehouse space to stash all that stuff, especially as our nation faces supply chain issues. Experts say that's why some retailers like Target, Amazon, and Walmart might offer loyal customers a little-known option: get a refund, but keep the goods.
The cost of reverse shipping merchandise that customers no longer want to keep often far exceeds the value of that merchandise in the first place.
But experts say don't count on keeping high-priced items. The policies apply on a case-by-case basis to smaller, lower-cost goods like clothes, household items, or toys. Music lover Emily Del Grosso was surprised to get her money back on an album she bought.
I had heard that Target had an exclusive vinyl with specific songs. Once it finally came in, there weren't the extra songs on it, so it wasn't as described.
She says Target issued her a full refund, advising her to donate, recycle, or keep the item.
It caught me off guard, but I was happy with it because I got my money and a product.
Policies like these are not guaranteed, though, so check store return rules online, in the apps, or call customer service.
They may take it back, they may not. But for customers shouldn't go in to this thinking, oh, well, we'll be able to keep this, because, that could be considered a scam.
Companies hoping to save money and keep customers happy as return season kicks into overdrive. Joe Fryer, NBC News.
Thanks so much, Joe. I want to take you back out live to New York City's Times Square and look at the preparations underway right now for the big party. Again, it's going to be downsized a little bit this year, and I just checked the forecast, and it's not looking that bad, really. A low of 48 tomorrow, and you've seen it in the past. Sometimes it can be brutal there in New York City on New Year's Eve. So we're going to be talking more about New Year's Eve throughout the day here on HNN as well. Speaking of the holiday, it's not just New Year's Eve tomorrow, it's also National Champagne Day. Yeah! Champagne is a wine known for its effervescence, which comes from the fermentation of the beverage, which really makes it all fizzy with that CO2. Now, if you haven't stocked up on it yet, like so many other things, it's in short supply. I actually stocked up today and got a few bottles for myself. I found some on the shelf, but it was looking a little bare, and that's what the experts are saying due to the supply chain issues and just a short supply from not the best grape harvest last year. Things are looking a little slim. You guys, that's gonna do it for This Is Now. A reminder, tomorrow there will be no This Is Now because of the holiday. We'll be back on Monday, though. And coming up in just a little bit, you can get updated of all the other headlines from throughout the day on First at 4. And just wanted to be the very first from here at the Digital Center to say, have a great new year, everyone. I want to leave you with more of that testing from the big ball drop in New York City.
3, 2, 1.